This is absolutely criminal.
Hello and happy Friday, everybody. It's Absolutely Criminal. I'm Andrew, and this is Tiffy Lou. Hi, Tiffy Lou.
Hi. You know, you can let me say my own name. You don't have to introduce me every time. You could. I know how to say my name.
Oh, and what's your name?
Shut up. I'm gonna smack you.
All right, we have a good show for you tonight. Emotions are running high in the Jennifer Crumbley case. She's the mom of the school shooter at Oxford, and her lawyer was popping off with the prosecutor. And then later, of course, we're going to resume Stephanie Lazarus and check our pictures as we look at the rest of that interrogation.
Yeah, I know you're dying to get my response.
Right. You asked me if the confession happens tonight, and I said, I don't think a confession really happens.
He already basically gave away the plot over here.
I spoiled.
Yes. Yeah, so I know apparently she never confesses to the crime.
But the ending is very satisfying.
You haven't said hello to anybody yet.
All right. Who's here?
I don't know. Let's see. Renee, Wesley, Nanya, or Sarah. Sorry, our Sarah. Tennis
Sarah
girl, Rhonda. I see no other names.
All right.
I guess that's it.
All right.
All
Welcome,
right.
everybody. It's a Friday night party. Okay. Let's take a look at the comments of the day. All right. And today we just had one, but it was pretty epic. So let's take a look. My ex-boyfriend went to high school with Scott Peterson in San Diego. Remember we talked about him Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
At the private Catholic school nicknamed the Uni. He said he's always been a pompous, arrogant prick and was not at all surprised that he was convicted of murder with a capital M. He's your average narcissistic sociopath who's had a contentious relationship with his mother. He was on the school's golf team and not well liked at all because he was such a jackass. All right. Give us your take, Tiffy Lou, on the golf team, please.
Well, the golf team thing does not surprise me. He kind of looks like one of those pricky golfers anyway.
Okay.
You know, no, that this wouldn't surprise me at all. However, I'm surprised, I guess, that no one else picked up on his capability. You know what I mean? This person that went to high school with him seems to be like, oh, doesn't surprise me at all. But his wife, I'm sure, was surprised.
Fuck, I know.
You know?
She was blindsided, probably. And I think his parents, her parents were as well, because they liked him.
Yeah.
You know, and so was his mistress, for that matter, Amber.
Yeah, she didn't seem to think he was a sociopathic killer.
So, yeah, they're fighting for his, the Innocence Project is fighting for his release. So we'll see what happens there.
Okay.
Good luck with that, Scott Peterson, because we all saw the trial. But his attorney, Matt Garagos, seems to be pretty confident.
I don't know, though. Casey Anthony got off.
She did.
Eventually. I mean, people still continue to think she was guilty, but you never know.
All right.
Things happen.
Well, there you have it. All right. And speaking of things happening, Jennifer Crumbley.
Like, why do you not remember? You're the one who wrote this.
Jennifer Crumbley, Tiffy Lou, is in court. Her first day of court was yesterday. And her second day was today. I have highlights of yesterday, which included the opening statements and some drama that happened in the courtroom.
Drama.
Yes. So I'm interested to get your take on her attorney. Her attorney, I can't remember her name at the moment, but she previously represented Larry Nassar, the USA Gymnastics pervert.
Yeah.
But she has a unique challenge in this. And the case is really unprecedented because we've not seen a school shooter's parents charged for enabling them, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Watch it, Tiffy Lou.
That's Michelle.
All right. Okay, so here we go. We're going to watch. I got some highlights of the best of yesterday in the trial.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one of the prosecutors. He's going to give the opening statements.
He looks military. Maybe it's just the hair.
I don't know. Yeah, he's got some hair. All right.
Don't worry, everybody. I want to introduce you to Anna St. Juliana, Madison Baldwin, T. Muir, and Justin Schilling.
And these, of course, the 4 students killed at Oxford High School, Waukesha, Wisconsin, by...
Waukesha gets lots of action. We've
It does.
covered that city 3 times,
Yep.
I think.
This and the Slender Man incident
Uh-huh.
and Daryl Brooks.
And
right?
Daryl, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on with
Shout out to-
Waukesha?
Shout out to Daryl. How's
Right?
he doing?
I don't want to move there now.
They died on November the 30th of 2021. They weren't in a car crash. They weren't sick. They were murdered in an act of terror committed by Jennifer Crumbley's 15-year-old son. Jennifer Crumbley didn't pull the trigger that day, but she is responsible for those deaths. These kids were gunned down inside Oxford High School with this gun. It's a 6-hour 9mm handgun purchased 4 days before the shooting by James Crumbley, Jennifer's husband and father in the school shooter.
All right. So this asshole, Ethan Crumbley shot and killed 4 students, shot 1 teacher. And you'll see her in her testimony today, but she survived.
No, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But Ethan was convicted, or pled guilty rather, and was sentenced. Now, although Jennifer and James Crumbley, the parents, were initially bound together at their...
That's what I thought. And then you told me they're being tried separate. And that kind
Right.
of was like, oh, okay.
And they made a motion to be tried separately. It was agreed upon. And so Jennifer's on trial now, and James Crumbley is scheduled to go on trial March 5th.
What makes me upset is that the kid had, pro bono representation.
Mm-hmm.
And they hired this like fancy ass lawyer for themselves.
Yeah.
And
I think they paid for it, but
I don't know. That already says like where their priorities are.
So I'm interested to get your take and everybody in chats as well.
Yeah.
This was a purchase celebrated by Jennifer on Instagram. These are her words. This is her post. Mom and son Dave testing out his new Christmas present. My first time shooting a 9mm. I get the bullseye. The evidence will prove that by the time this gun was bought, the school shooter was in a downward spiral that had begun months before.
And the gun was purchased on Black Friday, 4 days before the fatal incident.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I agree,
Yeah.
Sparkles, right?
Right. This is, we haven't seen, I can't remember any school shooters' parents that have been charged in any way.
And I'm kind of glad they're being held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like nobody just pops out a demon child.
So
there has to be some kind of
it appears these
environment.
guys did, but we'll see, because there's already some information talked about that I think is a little different from what we thought initially. So it will be interesting to see.
Oh, so you're saying this is going to be enlightening?
It could be. Yeah.
You've already seen it, Bubby. Will it be
Well,
enlightening?
No, this is only the first day. This is yesterday.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And
Okay.
they did their opening statements. They had a couple witnesses, and then they argued and they fought, and then they broke for the day. So
I see. Okay.
look
okay.
forward to that. But yeah.
You will also learn that despite all of that background, this firearm was not secured in a way to prevent her son from gaining access to it. This drawing, this math worksheet, was sent to her November the 30th, 2021. at 9:30 in the morning. That's more than 3 hours before the first shot was fired. These writings, that drawing, created by her son.
Remember, so he's got the gun
Oh
drawn
yeah, I
there.
remember that. He drew that on his little test paper or whatever.
And
Right.
the teacher took a picture and sent it to Jennifer Crumbley.
She was sent this by her son's school counselor when he requested an immediate meeting with her at the school that day. He requested that meeting because this drawing,
Very funny, Wesley, right?
The kid never had a chance. They were both nutters.
Yeah, nutter butters.
those words suggest both weapon and injury, even to someone with only limited knowledge of the shooter. This is a portion of a Facebook Messenger thread from Jennifer to James Crumbley. Jennifer, words in blue. Emergency, November 30th, 2021, 9:35 a.m. Then she sent the picture to James. His response, my God, WTF. Jennifer's response, he said he was distraught about last night.
Okay, so this is my first thing that I learned today or yesterday about this case.
Yeah.
At first, we thought that Jennifer found out about this and she texted Ethan Crumbley, please just don't get caught next time. And you know what I mean? And so it looked a lot less caring than we know now. And we know now as part of the record, she texted, I'm really scared about this. And she went down to meet him at the school.
Oh, okay.
And then, I'm very concerned, headed to a school. It's at 10:12 a.m. You will learn that these kind of meetings, when they occur with parents, can last an hour or longer. This one was abruptly ended by Jennifer Crumbley after just over 11 minutes.
And do you remember all the great meetings we had at our elementary schools?
No. How many meetings did you have at your elementary school?
Oh, I'm talking about with our children in Connecticut.
Oh, well, that's different. We
Yeah.
were there every day.
It was interesting.
And then she left. The two people in the world with all of the information, all of the background, that put this drawing into context were James and Jennifer Crumbley. And you will learn that in that meeting, they didn't share any of it. They didn't do any number of tragically small and easy things that would have prevented all this from happening. And you're going to see a pattern emerge in Jennifer Crumbley after the shooting on November 30th.
So the question is, what is the responsibility of Jennifer Crumbley? The school sends her this picture that her son did, and they clearly think it's disturbing. She rushes down, has a meeting with them, and
then bails after 10 minutes.
and then bails after 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
Right.
Sorry.
And that's one of the sticky points in this case.
That pattern will include and show you that she immediately began to downplay and downright lie about her level of knowledge of her son and that weapon and that drawing on November the 30th. This pattern will continue up until the time that she and her husband are found hiding from the police in Detroit. So how can she be held responsible when her son pulled the trigger? And the answer is, she's not charged with murder. She's charged with involuntary manslaughter. You see, murder it's an intentional killing. Involuntary manslaughter, by definition, is unintentional.
Shout out to Sarah Boone. Not intentional.
Yeah, someone still
It's
did,
rooted in
dude.
negligence. It's about Jennifer Crumbley's willful disregard of the danger that she knew of. That's why we're here. We're not here to talk about good parenting or bad parenting. It's not illegal to be a bad parent. You may not like the fact that neither the school counselor nor the dean of students searched school shooter's backpack. That's okay. That's okay. Because that does not mitigate Jennifer Crumbley's culpability. We're here because when Jennifer looked at this drawing,
Right. And so at this meeting, the administrators nor the parents, nobody checked his backpack, which contained the gun that he later used.
she didn't look at it the way a stranger would. When she looked at this drawing, she looked at it knowing the context and the origin. She's responsible for those deaths. I ask that during this trial you listen to the testimony, you review the evidence, and you follow the law. If you do that, you will undoubtedly reach a fair and just verdict. If you do that, you will find this defendant guilty as charged.
The judge is thinking, did I turn the stove off?
I know, she looks completely checked out.
I left the house this morning. Okay, so here is her defense attorney.
You said you want my opinion of this little girl?
I do.
Okay.
All right. So, especially her opening line, because it's a doozy.
Okay.
I've never heard anything like it, and I want to see what you think.
On my way to court today, I blasted Taylor Swift to warm up my voice and calm my nerves. And there was a line in one of her songs that summarized what this case is about. Band-Aids don't stop bullet holes.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
So, no disrespect to Taylor Swift. But that's an interesting way to start your opening.
What are you, 17?
And that's what this case is about. It's about the prosecution attempting to put a Band-Aid on problems that can't be fixed with a Band-Aid. The prosecution has charged Jennifer Crumbley with involuntary manslaughter in an effort to make the community feel better, in an effort to make people feel like someone is being held responsible, in an effort to send a message to gun owners, and none of those problems will be solved by charging Jennifer Crumbley with involuntary manslaughter.
The Swiftly reference was so below the belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With jury snuggling. Snuggle time.
Snuggle time. And I don't know. I feel for her because she is clearly nervous. You'll see her hand shaking as well during her opening statement. So natural to be a little bit nervous. Judge is trying not to doze off. Yep, I agree. But
she looks like she just graduated college. You know,
who, the attorney?
Yeah. She looks young.
Yeah.
And her voice sounds young too.
Yeah.
But I think that of people with a higher voice, because that sounds like a child.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
It's the same effect as when your child comes to you with a boo-boo and you give them a Band-Aid that they put on that doesn't take away the pain and can't undo what's happened to them. And in this case, a Band-Aid will never bring back the lives that were lost by Hannah, Justin, Tate.
This doesn't sound like a defense for the parents at all, though. This literally is basically like, yeah, they might have been really bad parents, but that's really not where our focus needs to be.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like she's not even really defending them.
Right, and I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, that's essentially the defense. Yeah, this is fucked up what happened, and her son has already admitted to it and been sentenced to it, but Jennifer could not have reasonably foreseen this happening. And the state, of course, is arguing the opposite.
And Madison Baldwin. So as you are watching the evidence, I ask you to keep in mind that much of what the prosecution is going to show you is going to alarm you and disgust
I got to give her credit then. She looks great for having popped out 4.
Oh, the attorney?
Yeah.
Oh.
you and be horrifically sad and tragic. Prior to November 30th, Jennifer Crumbley was the mother to a 15-year-old son, and she did not have it on her radar in any way that there was any mental disturbance, that her son would ever take a gun into a school, that her son would ever shoot people. The evidence at trial is going to show you that Jennifer Crumbley did the best she could as a mother to a child who grew up into a teenager and had no way to know what was going to happen.
Okay, so what parent really would think, even if their kid is misbehaving and acting out, what parent would reasonably think that their child might bring a gun to school and use it to kill people?
Well, going shooting with him might have been a clue.
Yeah, she went shooting with him.
Uh-huh. It's a lot of things, though. It goes back to when he was little. They didn't even make him go to school most of the time. You know,
Yeah.
and they ignored him. He stayed at home and just played video games all day by himself.
Yeah, one friend of the family that lived with them said that they essentially treated him like another tenant of
Yeah.
the apartment. Like they didn't have any rules. He went to bed when he wanted, he got up when he wanted, and he played video games. And yeah, much like our daughter.
You'll see that if anything, Jennifer Crumbley was a hyper-vigilant mother who cared more about her son than anything in the world.
Yeah, you're right, Lizzie, dude. She just sounds like it's her first time at trial. Like she's only done this in practice class, so this is
She
the real
definitely
thing.
seems nervous.
Yeah.
She definitely seems like she rehearsed this morning.
Oh
in the
yeah,
mirror
it looked. Yeah, she didn't
at the
listen to
hotel.
Taylor Swift. She came up with that 2 weeks ago.
But
Practicing her monologue.
would I want to do it? No, not really.
Jennifer Crumbley is not a perfect parent, and we don't claim that she is. But what the evidence is going to show in this case is that the prosecution has very selectively pulled out slivers of evidence from a forest of trees. And the defense will agree that on their face it looks bad. But like any of you who look
That's never good when you have to say, all right, we agree that it looks bad.
We understand why you might think that, but
back
yeah,
at text messages sent a year ago, they may look bad without context and explanation. By way of example, the prosecution has one day where they claim Ethan needed help and Jennifer Crumbley was out with her horse. James Crumbley was with her at the barn. They had just gotten a new horse. Ethan is 15 years old at home, claiming there's a demon in the house, there's something going on.
Yeah, you remember that one, Tefila?
And the prosecution is going to try to use this one little point in time to convince you that Jennifer Crumbley was somehow neglecting her son. You are going to hear evidence that James and Ethan went to the shooting range often, that James was responsible for storing the guns, and to be quite frank, Jennifer Crumbley didn't know anything about guns. She didn't even know where the gun was or how to put it in the car.
She didn't know how to put it in the car.
Really?
Tefila.
So wait, she took her son shooting but knew nothing about guns? Who's the protection here?
Yeah,
You know, that's bullshit.
right. I mean, ignorance of the facts is not necessarily an excuse.
Right.
She had her husband prepare the gun to take it to the range. You will see video of their experience at the gun range, and you will see that the shooter is the one showing Mrs. Crumbley how to use the gun at the range.
Yep, there are signs of neglect, like from when he was very young, and not just her, but his dad too, you know?
Yeah, Dad's a knucklehead as well.
And when they're done at the range, the gun was placed back in the back seat of the car, not back seat, but the back of an SUV. And Jennifer Crumbley drove home, and not being responsible for storing the gun and not even knowing where the gun specifically was placed, Jennifer Crumbley left the gun locked in the trunk, the back part of her SUV. And James Crumbley was responsible for getting the gun out, putting the trigger lock back on.
Does sound like they're turning on each other, doesn't it? Uh-huh.
And I don't want to sound disparaging, but it looks like the last couple years have aged her quite a bit.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was the same person.
Yeah, a little more than a couple of years.
Well, she just stopped dyeing her hair, probably. And she doesn't wear contacts, so
Yep, there
gray
you go.
hair and glass. Oh, she looks like me.
Storing the gun, and Mrs. Crumbley had nothing to do with that part of what happened. And she finds out during email and text message that her son has drawn this alarming drawing the prosecution put on the screen. Jennifer freaks out when she sees the drawing. You will see the text messages that show she's urgently texting her husband, emergency, call me now, and she races out of work and goes to the school.
Yeah, and that's one fact that I also didn't know back when this happened.
No, I didn't hear that either.
So she was concerned, said WTF, and did go off to the school, but, things changed.
And they are all in a room together where the shooter explains why he has put together this drawing and what the drawing means. Trained professionals at the school who evaluate children represent that the shooter is of no risk to anyone and they allow him to stay in school. And he wanted to stay that day. The school was fine with it.
That's also a new fact that I've heard. I heard everything we knew up until now, as far as I knew, was that Jennifer refused to take him home. James refused to take him home. They said they had to go to work. See ya. But it sounds like maybe the school also is a little to blame here.
Mrs. Crumbley did leave the school and left the shooter at the school, not knowing he was going to become the shooter within the next few hours. And suddenly there is news that there is an open shooter at Oxford. Jennifer Crumbley, it's not even on her radar that her son would be the one with the gun doing anything.
Okay, but wouldn't it be on your radar that it's at your child's school? Wouldn't that make you flip a bitch and go back?
Well, she was concerned that it was at his school and was concerned he was hurt. But what she's saying is he didn't suspect that he could be the shooter. Now, she finds that she doesn't know now that the gun is missing from their home. She does find that out shortly.
Her immediate concern is that her son may be hurt. She has conversations with her husband and becomes aware that the gun at their house is missing. And in Jennifer Crumbley's mind, and you will hear evidence of this, she believes that perhaps her son has done something stupid, like taken the gun and shot it in the air or done something. A little bit later, there's more conversations. And Mrs. Crumbley becomes concerned that the shooter is actually attempting suicide. And Jennifer Crumbley texts her son, Ethan, don't do it. It still has not crossed her mind that he would ever shoot another person. Ultimately, Jennifer and James Crumbley are called to the substation where they learn that their son has become a school shooter and has shot people and that there are fatalities.
Holy shit. Can you imagine? You're called down to the police station.
Gosh, that would be horrifying.
Your son has become the latest Dylan Klebold or Eric Harris. And right. Wow.
Jennifer Crumbley will tell you she still could not believe that was true and went into a complete state of shock.
I believe that.
This one. Read it over here.
I have had to go to a concerning meeting with the school about my oldest. He was having a hard time and wanted to hurt himself, and they wouldn't let him come back without being seen by crisis.
Yeah. See, why wouldn't that happen with Ethan? So, I mean, there are multiple parties involved in this.
Right. I mean, the school recommended that he go home, and they call him a mental health therapist,
Right.
but that did not happen, unfortunately.
Jennifer Crumbley sees her son at the substation, and for the first time, when he looks at her, his eyes looked black.
And listen, I mean, when I was in this grade, we didn't have any inkling of any school shootings or anything like that.
No, they didn't really pick up to Columbine.
Yeah, Columbine. I was in my
Yeah.
early 20s, and yeah.
There were college shootings though.
Mm-hmm.
During our childhood.
Oh, like the bell tower, and
Yeah, but
mhm.
yeah.
It was a son she did not recognize. Law enforcement takes their cell phones, which the Crumbleys handed over. The Crumbleys have to go and buy burner phones or track phones so they have something to use to be in touch. They begin to realize that there are death threats around their house. People are planning riots around their house, and they cannot be in their home.
Yeah, so the allegation is once their phones were taken, they bought a bunch of burner phones,
And they had like cash and
and went on the run.
and they didn't they even have what's it called, like traveler's checks or something?
Yeah, oh yeah, I think
It was
they did.
like
They had
a bunch
stuff.
of different forms of money.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
she's about to explain a lot of that.
Oh, okay. I'm interested to know the reasoning.
In the days following the event, while the prosecution says the evidence will show Jennifer Crumbley is lying, Jennifer Crumbley is truthfully telling the world she had no idea, and finding out that she is about to be charged in this Band-Aid effort by the prosecution with involuntary manslaughter.
I can't blame the school. They don't have resources to bring up children. That's true.
Mhm.
But there is protocol.
Right.
And the protocol should be universal, even if it isn't necessarily a protocol for that particular school.
Mhm.
When it comes to the education system, they need to have the same protocols.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
as you'll hear later, the training for the teachers, it seemed pretty robust as far as what they were supposed to do when they got the message, lock down and make sure you know where everybody is and that kind of stuff. But
Jennifer and James Crumbley go to the bank. They're advised by friends and family, and you will hear testimony
and Mr. Rashbaum.
that their money could all be taken out of their accounts, and they know they need money to be able to live and hire lawyers and figure out what to do.
And traveler's checks.
And traveler's checks, one-way tickets to foreign countries.
They withdraw all of the money from their bank account. The burner phones they're using, they can't get access to any of their accounts because of this two-part authentication you now have to do. So they go to the Metro PCS store.
When you're trying
And they
to
buy 3 burner phones each, just in case.
Yeah, she's talking about when you're logging in and they have to send you a text. to
Okay,
get
that
it.
is absolutely ridiculous.
Mhm.
This is like, oh my gosh.
Where they buy new telephones that they can actually use to access their social media, their accounts, their contacts, and they end up with multiple cell phones. The Crumbleys find out when a press conference is held that they are being charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter.
All right.
And at that point, they attempt to try to figure out what to do, where to stay, where to go, what to do.
We heard what to do already.
The police station. You should probably go to the police station.
And they ultimately ask a friend if they can stay at his art studio until they know where to go and what to do.
They were hiding.
Or ask
My
a friend to stay at his
gosh.
art studio.
That's just so odd.
No,
in
she's-
another town.
Tiffy Lou, she's about to go on to explain that they weren't hiding at
Oh
all.
my gosh. They were only caught because they decided to leave the basement once,
They make plans to turn themselves into the court on Saturday morning, because remember, this is late in the day Friday. Overnight, the prosecutor's office, the sheriff's department, the fugitive apprehension team, the U.S. Marshals have a statewide search claiming that James Crumbley and Jennifer Crumbley are on the lam. They are running. They are fleeing. They are trying to avoid charges. And it couldn't be any further from the truth.
Yeah, I remember
Okay,
this,
but I
yeah.
would assume if I am going by the Crumbly story,
Mhm.
the minute I see news that people are saying I am on the lam, I would be like, wait, no. And
I'm
I
not
would
on the lam.
contact the police
Mhm.
and say, no, I am not on the lam. You can reach me at such and such a number, blah, blah, blah.
That's also a good way to make sure the rioters don't get you. The death
Yes.
threats don't get you. Go to the
Your story doesn't hold up.
They are at their friend's art studio. They are waiting for instructions, and they are waiting to turn themselves in. They're not really hiding. They're standing outside their car, their vehicle, smoking cigarettes. They're standing outside their car, talking on the telephone. They're communicating with various people they know. There's absolutely no evidence to suggest that they're fleeing. Police
I just don't think they knew how instantly infamous they got.
I just think they were stupid.
come into the art studio to find them dead asleep on this mattress. They are cooperative, they are taken into custody, and they are arrested. The prosecution has grossly misconstrued facts in this case, and I ask that you wait to make any judgment until all of the evidence has been presented and you have seen every detail of it, including Jennifer Crumbley's testimony. And she is going to take the stand and tell you about her life with her.
So that's something to look forward to.
So
She's
that
gonna-
happens today, tomorrow?
Probably not. No, they.
No, you said that they did have a trial today. This is yesterday's, right?
Well, this is yesterday, and then today a little more happened. They called a couple.
but Jennifer
witnesses.
Crumbly wasn't.
No, no. I
okay.
believe they said they had like 400 exhibits to go through with the jury and stuff. So it sounds like it's going to take a little bit.
Look at this.
Judge is like, lady,
You're so verbose.
About the day he became the shooter and about the day he did something she could have never anticipated or fathomed or predicted. You will hear that the school never advised Mrs. Crumbley of problematic issues that if she had heard about, she would have jumped right on top of it. Despite the fact, the evidence will show that
This attorney's been watching too much Law and Order.
Mrs. Crumbley is on power schools, managing, missing assignments by her son and his grades. The school never told her about times the shooter was trying to sleep in class, about a test he had failed, about the shooter being called to the office. She was never informed. And so when the prosecution is urging you not to assign fault to anyone else, at the end of the day, we ask that you pay attention to the evidence that Mrs. Crumbley knew. And quite frankly, when you evaluate that evidence and know what she knew and what she didn't know, and learn the context behind the slivers of evidence this prosecution's presenting.
That would be a nice start.
Maybe don't buy your child a gun.
Especially if you claim you don't know anything about them.
Yeah. Right.
You will see that this was absolutely not foreseeable. This was absolutely not expected. And I am going to ask that you find Jennifer Crumbley not guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
What's this accent?
My name is Molly Darnell.
I don't know why that strikes me as funny. She just turns away and
Like,
walks on.
where was I sitting? Where's...
All right. So this is one of the teachers at Oxford High who was.
Is this the one that was shot, but
She was the
that
one
survived?
who was shot.
Okay.
Yep.
MOLLYDARNELL. I started working for Oxford in the fall of '98.
Okay, would that be your entire career?
That was my entire career.
Okay, and you stayed in that one school district?
Correct.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I could hear a commotion in the hallway, and I looked up from my laptop, and I see a bunch of kids running through the hallway. It was a pack of kids. And they were moving pretty quickly, and there was a commotion around it. I couldn't tell if it was like excited, you know, that it was like higher pitched though. And it was almost like some of the kids' hands were extended, like they were trying to move really quickly. I exited my office. I believe that there was possibly a fight. And I see all those kids exiting out of door 4. So I know there's not a fight. I paused for a second because I'm thinking like, well, what is it? What's going on, right? I don't know what's happening. I head back into my office space. The hallway is completely clear. It was, in pausing, trying to like gather what to do next. I heard 3 things pretty quickly together, like so quickly together that I have a hard time distinguishing what came first and what came last. But there were the sounds of like 3 like loud pops. Doors started slamming. I could hear like boom, 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 boom. And then the principal at the time, Steve Wolf, came over the PA and said, "We're heading into lockdown. This is not a drill." So I walked to the door. I immediately pull it shut. To the left of my door, so my door was here, and there was a glass part, like, you know, floor to ceiling glass. And out of my peripheral vision, I can see some sort of movement. And so I look up, and I see someone dressed in dark, oversized clothing, and I lock eyes with them. And then instantly I notice, I see some movement. And so I look down, and I realize he's raising a gun to me, and I jump to the side. So when I move, I kind of jump and turn my body this way at the same time. And I feel like my left shoulder moves back a bit, and I feel a burn like hot water had stung me.
Yeah, so that all happened, she said later, in 1 or 2 seconds, where
Wow.
she
Yeah.
saw Ethan, saw his hand come up, and then
Mhm.
turned and was shot.
But of course, she's slowing it down to describe every movement. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's very
yeah.
quick. And
Mhm.
ouch. I
And
feel so bad for her. You could tell it's still emotional for her to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
turn back, there was a window in the back of my room that leads out to the courtyard. And I see a bullet hole. And the only thing I'm thinking is I have to barricade this door. Like there was instinct that kicked in. So what you can't see is right around that corner, there was this huge filing cabinet.
And I think if we can point, so to the, around that corner to the,
Yeah.
okay.
And so I
At the close of today was something. I actually thought the attorneys were going to fight.
Yeah.
There was a little spaz or
Yes,
something.
and we have a clip of that as well.
Okay, okay.
Basically, the judge ends with say, "All right, just everybody go home."
Ugh.
So yeah, we'll see that clip at the end of this trial summary from yesterday.
Okay.
grab it because I'm afraid to go back towards the door at this point in time. And I try to move it, thinking maybe I can pull it out enough and push it. And it was just too heavy for me. And then I moved for the roll. I was like, I just have to keep barricading. I just have to keep barricading. And so I grabbed the rolling cart. Then the only thing I can think of is he's going to come back and finish what he wanted to do.
Could you hear anything else in the hallway?
At this point, I'm not hearing anything.
Okay. So what did you do?
So I go back to that large cabinet because I know if I'm anywhere in the back of this room, he can see. So I need to hide in this front corner. And so I pull that large filing cabinet back just enough to crawl behind it so that if he comes to that window, he can't see where I'm at. I had texted my husband, "I love you, active shooter." And then I started feeling blood dripping down my arm. I had a cardigan on that day, and so I removed my cardigan and I used one of the sleeves of the arm, wrapped it up on top and pulled with one arm and my teeth with the other to tighten it.
That's pretty hardcore to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And my daughter texts me. She didn't go to Oxford High School, but she went to a neighboring school district. and they had heard through social media that there was a shooting at Oxford High School. And so she sent me a message and just said, Mom, are you okay? And I responded to her that I love you. I'm sheltered in place. And I'm fine. It was absolute silence for a long time. And then I started to hear a volume of footsteps. And I thought, they must be evacuating a classroom. Kurt Noose was at my door within maybe 2 minutes. Time's hard on that. And he was like knocking, Molly, are you in there?
I can't imagine receiving a message like that. Her husband's heart must have stopped.
Oh my
dropped,
gosh, I
sorry.
know. Yeah, and gets an incomplete answer back as well.
Yeah, well, we don't really know yet.
Yeah.
I've known Kurt Noose since we started in Oxford. I did not trust that that was him at my door. But then there were police at the door, and they were like, are you in here? Are you injured? I said, yes. And then I said, do you want me to open the door? And they said, yes, open the door. And I'm down on the ground while I'm doing all of this. Like, I'm removing the night lock, and I'm opening up the door from my knees. And they, like, scoop me up. And I can see the two officers that scoop me up, I can see Kurt standing there against the lockers. And I can see 4 cops with guns. Everything is silent, like almost like it's so like echoey. It's so silent.
Yeah, and there they are walking around.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And
oh my gosh.
so the defense did not cross-examine her, and then this is the assistant principal. She testified, and she was the one who found Tate Meir, one of the students who was down, and sadly there was nothing she could do for him when she found him. So we'll post highlights of that testimony on our channel tomorrow. It was very emotional, and then afterward the defense, Jennifer Crumbley, became emotional. The lawyer did, and then there was some drama.
Drama.
Sorry to really tell what can you say? Say yes. I'm like so sorry. Can we just have a minute? Like a break or can we just have a break, please? Sure. Sure. I'm gonna be able to tell we're great, okay?
And that's the defense attorney asking for a break there.
Thanks for the jury.
Your Honor, this court, upon the defense's request, instructed the prosecutors not to show emotion. You instructed the prosecutors to tell our witnesses not to show emotion. And you instructed us to let our victims know. I understand the ruling, Your Honor. I do. You're concerned about influence of the jury. I take no issue with it. But it was a difficult thing. It's difficult, and we're doing it. And then to have not just the defendant, her lawyer sit there sobbing. So that
I did not sob.
I just want to finish, Your Honor. I just want to finish.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this go on
This
before.
looks like a girl fight in high school.
I think if that is the instruction, we are trying really hard to respect the court's instruction because I understand the reason for it.
Okay, I didn't thought given us to show emotion. I some of that is involuntary, but there are good times in this courtroom during trials when people will show facial expressions or things like that, or make comments. I understand this is a very emotional situation for everyone here, right? If someone was audibly sobbing in the audience, I would hope that they would exit. And as a side, the reason for it, I didn't tell anybody not to show emotion. I guess some emotion is involuntary. So I guess I'm asking what you're asking.
I think it should apply to both sex.
Judge, first of all, I was not sobbing. This is horrific. This is horrific.
I've never seen this before.
It's horrific. That's why we asked the court not to play it. This is horrific. I don't know how the prosecutor. She's watched it 100 times, and with these witnesses, it's horrific.
Yeah, and they're talking about the surveillance footage
Yeah, I
that
get
did
it, but
depict
you know
people being
what?
shot and
Juries are supposed to see those things.
stuff.
So you can't be like, oh, we can't show the jury that because it's just so horrible. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, the
That's
judge
the whole
ruled that the
point.
prosecution could show it, so I don't know why she wouldn't look at it, because even though she didn't think it was relevant to her case, it was going to be introduced in court.
and
she
it's
knew
damning.
That. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Still be over.
I don't know. I don't have this video. I have to go to their office to watch it.
You've seen it.
No, I haven't, because it's not necessary. It's
Now,
not
how do you know it's
relevant to my
horrific?
client's case. We've already litigated this, but we're doing our best. We were not sobbing or making a scene in any way. All my eye makeup's still on. I checked my camera.
I'm not having an
I need to practice my.
Okay, but
Well, you did start it though, but yeah.
no, my
and then-
makeup is fine.
I need a break.
Okay, we're having the break. That's what we need. You keep your voices down because
I'm sorry.
The walls are cardboard in here. So
All right, so lawyers are people too, and
She basically threw a little tantrum.
threw a little tantrum. Judge basically said, "All right, everybody, cool their shit and just let's whatever. It's emotional. People are going to be
This
seen,
totally looks like a fight from high school.
people
man.
are gonna
I'm
be
not even
affected.
kidding.
But then today, after I think it was after the testimony concluded from the day, there was another altercation between sides.
One thing I think is important. I asked this court to instruct households to show the appropriate decorum. In this particular case, the jokes indicating I'm going to kill myself in a joking manner and drinking $5
The bottles of wine. It's just there are parents.
And I'm going to have to go back and watch. They're asserting that the lawyer in blue, the defense lawyer,
Yeah, the little child.
joked that something about she was going to kill herself or something like this, out of frustration.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't know what that.
So now
comment
they're
was
just doing
exactly.
nitpicky things like people do when they run for elections.
It seems like it, yeah.
Had their children murdered in this courtroom, and we are the people who communicate with them after we leave here.
but something about wine because I was looking at her exhibit and it was teetering, and I was trying to nicely suggest that I would.
But making a joke about killing yourselves in this courtroom at this time, I understand.
I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I did not mean it like
yelling that I
did not mean it like that, and they know I didn't mean it like that.
Okay, we're responding to literally just sitting here, the amount of messages we get from victims in the community, and I just think just to be at a abundance of respect and caution, if we could just not say things like that. I'm not accusing anyone of any malice or any bad intent. I'm just asking that we just not engage in that, because this is hard enough for the people who are sitting here now and who will be sitting here next week.
Your Honor, I am not joking around about anything.
Okay, I think it was just those are stipulations, all right? Emotion is spelled money high among, but we also, lots of people are saying things with little sugar,
But Your Honor, I do want to make a point. I'm not making an objection because my emotions are running high. In fact, I'm not having an emotional response here. I am simply asking that we be respectful to victims. That's it.
Your Honor, I am being respectful. So that is implying I'm being disrespectful. Me saying I'm gonna kill myself, I didn't mean in any way to offend
I know you did.
these families.
IPW, was this from the town. She's
It was absolutely not related to Beth.
I know.
This shooting is awful. It's the prosecution that's parading all of this out here and putting
Yeah, we're
The shooting
blaming.
is the result of the defendant's gross negligence. That is the case.
They are the ones putting the
everybody needs-
releasing all
everybody
this
needs
over.
Goodness. Now
Right,
the guy got
I've-
involved. I thought it was just a chick fight.
I've
But
never,
now he's speaking up.
I've never seen an argument like this in open court before.
Oh my
You're on
gosh.
record.
Whoa! Everybody needs to go home. Everybody needs to go home.
That
All right.
time out.
Wonder if mentor lawyer has had any fight like this in court.
Yeah.
I understand that we're not putting victims through anything. And I'm sorry, but that just because everybody's disagreeing doesn't mean everyone is inappropriate. We aren't putting victims through everything. We're prosecuting our case. We're trying to do it in the most efficient way.
She's defending her case. I think that was a slip of the tongue. Everybody needs to take a deep breath and go home. Everybody go home. I would go home.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. And
Wow.
then
That's insane.
everybody went home for the day. And I'm going to put together a recap of today as well, because there was obviously fireworks. So what do you think, Tiffy Lou?
Wait, we're 55 minutes in. If we're not even on the last topic.
You know, I think we can we will do that, react to that afterward, after the broadcast, maybe tomorrow morning.
Okay. Because
And
I'm
we'll
like, we're
post it
keeping
to
these
our-
people up all night. dude.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to hold down on you all, but with the Stephanie Lazarus interrogation, but I think we ran a little bit long here tonight. So we're going to record that, our reactions to that tomorrow.
Mhm.
Tiffy Lou hasn't seen that yet.
No,
That's so
he
hard to
keeps them
believe.
all a secret from me.
Yeah, and it's got a really satisfying ending. So
Oh,
look for
okay.
that tomorrow. And we will see you.
Yeah, have a great night. Thank you all for coming.
Yep. Check your pictures, and we will see you on Tuesday. Good night, everybody. Thank you.